Hello Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides mid-patch update video. My name is Dan, and today I'm going to be going over all the strongest champions using fresh statistics to give you the best and most accurate tier lists available. We encourage all our viewers to comment on these lists and say if you agree or disagree with us on specific champion placements. There were a ton of changes made since the start of patch 9.19, and our challenger analysts and partnered pro players are so excited to bring you guys our updated tier list. Also guys, today's question of the day is going to be, which champion have you been playing to decent success in patch 9.19? We want to hear your answers in the comments down below, so make sure to let us know. One more thing before we start, I want you to click the link below in the description and check out our website, ProGuides.com. ProGuides is the best proven way to improve your rank at League of Legends, and we post guide videos like this one every single day. We've been doing a lot more advanced content recently and have onboarded even more pros and challenger players to bring you even better content. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on this because your friends are going to be so surprised at how you became so good at League of Legends in such a short time. Now, with that all being said, let's jump right into the mid-patch update. Let's kick things off with some hotfix buffs and nerfs that Riot Games did not formally announce. First up, we have Blitzcrank. If you weren't aware already, Blitzcrank received a massive buff at the start of this patch, which increased his hook range by 100. Due to these buffs, it meant that you could hook the enemy buffs from crazy angles such as the river or from golems. Clearly, this was unbalanced, and it resulted in Blitzcrank receiving a quick hotfix nerf on his Q's hitbox. The overall range of this ability remains at 1150, but the edge-to-edge lollipop effect on the hook has been nerfed to prevent these crazy angle hooks from happening. Next up on our list, we have a hotfix buff made to Sylas. At the start of patch 9.19, Sylas received some huge nerfs which were targeted towards his role as a jungler. Although these nerfs did remove him from the jungle, it appears that Riot over-nerfed him by quite a bit, and his statistics for mid and top lane were heavily affected by this. But there is some good news. Last week, Sylas received a hotfix buff which reverted the armor nerfs made to his kit in 9.19. Although he's still a lot weaker than he was last patch, having that extra bit of armor helps him a ton versus matchups like Zed, Talon, and Yasuo. Now that we have that covered, let's jump right into the updated tier list, starting with the top lane. The top lane tier list sees a lot of changes compared to the one that we had at the start of the patch. In our S+ tier, we have Kled, Pantheon, and a new member, Kayle. Kayle recently received a mini rework which helped balance out her uneven power spikes between her weak early game and godlike late game. Although her win rate and play rate weren't really the best when this mini rework hit the live server, she's been steadily climbing the charts and has made it to her S+ tier in our mid-patch update. The main reason why her stats were so unimpressive at the start was due to players still testing the waters with her and figuring out the most optimal builds, item paths, and playstyle. However, in patch 9.19, Kayle has just been tearing up the solo queue ladder for regions like Korea and China. On those two servers, she has a higher win rate and play rate than most of our S or even S+ tier champs like Pantheon, Kled, Darius, Jax, Vladimir, and Mordekaiser, which goes to show how powerful she really is. However, the Western servers like NA and EU have not caught on to Kayle's strength in the meta, so make sure to learn her ASAP. Your opponents will likely underestimate how strong Kayle is, and it'll catch them off guard. Seriously guys, learn Kayle if you want freelo this patch. You will not regret it. Pantheon received a slight nerf at the start of patch 9.19, and he remains almost unaffected by these changes. He's still an S+ tier pick for the top lane, and his statistics this patch have only dropped by a tiny amount. Pantheon can still dominate the early to mid game against most meta top laners and has a disgusting amount of burst with his full combo. In addition to this, Panth is a straightforward and easy to play character, so you should have no problem adding him to your champion pool. Next up in our S tier, we have Riven, Darius, Jax, Renekton, Vladimir, Mordekaiser, and Fiora. Riven got some buffs at the start of this patch, and our analysts were spot on in placing her back into the S tier. Having the reduced cooldown on her E has helped her a ton during the laning phase, and she can now reliably survive the early game against her bad matchups. A lot of Riven mains are pleased with the buffs, but the majority of the community seems to be displeased with these changes. We want to hear your thoughts on the Riven changes, and if she even needed to be buffed in the first place. Let us know in the comments below, and we might select a few of the most popular answers to present to a Riot Balance team member. Much like Riven, Fiora was given some huge buffs this patch, and her play rate and win rate have skyrocketed. Being able to melt towers within a short period of time is extremely powerful for her because she spends the majority of the game split pushing rather than grouping with her team. If you can force your opponent to recall during the laning phase, then you'll definitely net yourself 2 tower plates worth of gold and gain a huge advantage. Definitely try her out this patch if you haven't already, because it's very likely that Fiora will make that small push back into the S+ tier within the coming weeks. Press that sub button if you want to stay updated with her stance in the meta. Moving on to the jungle. The jungle tier list sees a lot of changes compared to the one that we had at the start of the patch. In our S+ tier, we have Kha'Zix and 2 new members who are Echo and Dr. Mundo. Echo has been receiving a ton of buffs within the past few patches, and he's phase dived his way into the S+ tier for jungle. His early clear speed is insanely fast, and once he purchases a runic Echoes, you can pretty much one-shot every camp. In addition to this, his dueling, ganking, and team fighting is incredibly strong, and you'll definitely see Echo being a priority pick during the World Championships. I really can't stress this enough, but Echo is ridiculously overtuned right now, and you have to learn him if you play jungle, mid, or even top. Dr. Mundo is our next S+ tier pick this patch and is another ridiculously overtuned champion. The buffs made to his kit a few patches ago have made a huge impact on his stance in the meta, and Korean junglers are locking him in at every given opportunity. He literally has no bad matchups in the jungle right now other than Echo, and is basically a free win versus heavy AP compositions. Being able to build Spirit Visage after your Cinder Hulk is extremely effective and turns you into an unkillable tank within the first 10 minutes of the game. If you're looking for an aggressive, easy-to-play tank jungler with insane amounts of damage, then lock in Dr. Mundo for your next few games. In our S tier for the jungle tier list, we have Evelynn, Nunu, Elise, Karthus, Lee Sin, J4, and Hecarim. These 7 champions have been in our S tier for multiple patches now, so none of them should come as a surprise to you. Not much more to say about them, so let's just move on to 2 A tier picks that we want to talk about, which are Rek'Sai and Graves. Graves got a nice base AD buff in patch 9.19, and he's been so much stronger ever since. A lot of Graves mains stopped playing him ever since the jungle EXP nerfs, but are starting to spam him in rank due to these changes. Having tried the new Graves myself, I can confirm that his early clear speed is much faster than before, and I've been having a lot of success with a Storm Razor build instead of lethality this patch. Give him a try and let us know what you think of the buffs down below. Lastly, for the jungle, let's talk about Rek'Sai. Although Rek'Sai did get buffed this patch, her stance in the meta has not changed too much and is still a low A tier jungler. Her main weakness is that she's way too reliant on her flash, and the changes made to her don't really target her core problems. At best, Rek'Sai can now take tower plates much faster than before, but she's still way too weak in the higher elo brackets. Oh, and one more thing, Sylas jungle is dead, like literally dead. If you see someone lock in Sylas jungle, you should probably dodge because he has a 36% win rate in solo queue right now. There is a slight chance that he'll still be picked in competitive play, but the stars would have to align perfectly for that. Now, let's run it down mid. The mid laner tier list remains pretty similar to the one that we had at the start of patch 9.19. In our S+ tier, like always, are Fizz and Talon. These 2 champions are the best picks in the mid lane for solo queue and will bring you the best results. Their assassin playstyle is mainly focused around punishing enemy mistakes and catching them out when they're out of position or just overextending in the lane. In our S tier, we have Echo, Zed, Katarina, Ahri, Kassadin, Malzahar, and a new member, Galio. Yes, you heard that right. Galio is no longer a meme and is actually a really strong champion right now. Ever since the removal of his taunt flash combo, Galio has been receiving damage buff after damage buff after damage buff, which have made him quite overtuned. If you manage to land one taunt on your opponent, then you can almost one-shot them with your insane burst. A lot of professional players have been spamming Galio in solo queue, and the most notable one is the God Faker himself. You know a champion is good if Faker is spamming it. Try him out in a few normal games, you'll be surprised how powerful Galio is. Next up, let's talk about 3 notable A tier picks for mid, which are Pyke, Veigar, and Pantheon. Pyke mid has taken the world by storm this patch and has a sudden spike in play rate and win rate. Just when you think solo lane Pyke is completely dead, he comes back out of nowhere even stronger than ever. A lot of players have been finding success with Pyke in solo queue, using either Hail of Blades or Electrocute for the increased burst. In addition to this, junglers love camping Pyke mid because they get to share gold instead of funneling it all toward one player. For anyone who's been abusing Pyke mid when it was sleeper OP, I'm sorry to say, but he's been exposed and will likely start seeing more play within the next few weeks. Veigar has been doing a lot better since the start of patch 9.19, and the buffs made to his event horizon are helping him a ton. Having the reduced cooldown means that the enemy team will have a lot less opportunities to engage onto you, since your main peeling ability will be up within a few seconds. Although he has picked quite a bit in solo queue right now, it is unlikely that he'll see play in the World Championships, so you can continue to abuse Veigar in solo queue. Lastly, for the mid lane, we have Pantheon. Pantheon received a few changes at the start of this patch, which were aimed at nerfing his stance as a mid laner. Although he does take a bit more damage versus AP matchups in the mid lane, Pantheon is still as dominant as ever and remains in the A tier for our mid-patch update. His early aggression and burst is dangerously strong versus squishy targets, and he can negate any pressure from his opponent by using his E. Now onto the AD carries. The AD carry tier list sees a couple of changes compared to the one that we had at the start of the patch. In the S Plus tier, we have the usual Caitlyn and Jinx, but we also welcome a new member, Ashe. Ashe received a gigantic buff this patch, which increased the slow of her passive while also making her Q an auto attack reset. Although this buff seems pretty minor, it actually increased her win rate by a ton, and she's made her way into the S Plus tier for our mid-patch update. Right now, the only ADC who can properly duel her during the early game is Yasuo, because she'll just straight out demolish people with that auto attack reset. In addition to this, Ashe can create perma-prio for your jungler in the bot lane by constantly shoving the wave with her W while also using her E to keep an eye on the enemy jungler. Ashe is the perfect AD carry for solo queue right now, and our analysts highly recommend her. Next up, in our S tier, we have Kai'Sa, Lucian, Draven, and Vayne. Kai'Sa has been dropped from our S Plus tier in our mid-patch update due to the rise in Lucian, Caitlyn, and Ashe in the recent meta. Although Kai'Sa is disgustingly strong in pro play, she just doesn't have that same effect in solo queue. Champs like the three we just mentioned can easily bully her out in lane, and your support will probably not have enough synergy with you to make any early outplays. If you can somehow get a lead in lane versus Caitlyn, Ashe, and Lucian, then you'll still be that 1v9 monster, but chances are that you'll fall behind due to the early pressure. Speaking of early pressure, Lucian has been seeing a lot more play recently and is one of the best contenders to make that push to S Plus tier within the coming weeks. His early game bursts and mid-game power spikes are almost unrivaled in the bottom lane right now. However, he does struggle versus some champions who outrange him like Caitlyn and Ashe, but he can easily overcome this with an aggressive support like Braum, Blitzcrank, Leona, or Nautilus who can lock down the enemy ADC. Lastly, for the bottom lane, Vayne received an AD steroid buff on her ultimate this patch and has become a lot stronger. However, she doesn't quite make that push into the S Plus tier due to the same reasons as Kai'Sa. Champions like Draven, Caitlyn, Lucian, and Ashe can still abuse her weak early game and prevent her from scaling into that late game 1v9 machine. However, it is very likely that you'll see Vayne being played during the World Championships due to the pro play meta being a lot more safe and slow during the laning phase. Finally, onto the supports. The support tier list only sees a few minor changes compared to the ones that we had at the start of the patch. In our S Plus tier, we have Pyke, Nautilus, and we welcome a new member, Blitzcrank. Like we mentioned at the start of the video, Blitzcrank had his Q range increased at the start of the patch, which caught a lot of people off guard. I hope a lot of you support mains abuse the lack of knowledge from the other players and spammed Blitzcrank during the start of the patch for some freelo. He currently holds the highest win rate in support right now, but you should expect Blitzcrank to exit out of the S Plus tier within the coming weeks. His stats are extremely inflated due to players still adjusting to these buffs, and he'll likely drop down into the S tier by the end of next month. Next up, let's talk about Pyke. Pyke has been and still is one of the most broken champions in the game. His roaming, burst, CC, cleanup, and goal generation is just beyond broken, and I honestly have no clue why he hasn't been nerfed yet. It's almost impossible to punish a good Pyke player because he can just abuse his gray health, aftershock tenacity, low cooldowns, and low mana cost to escape almost every scenario. In addition to this, getting caught out by a Pyke is twice as punishing as getting normally caught out because he doubles your kill gold value. Pick or ban Pyke, guys, you'll thank me for this one later. In our S tier, we have Thresh, Morgana, Bard, Leona, Nami, and a new member, Swain. We've always mentioned this in our previous videos, but Swain's support is broken right now. If you main support, then you have to try him out because almost every professional support is spamming him in solo queue. He works extremely well with a lot of meta AD carries like Ashe, Caitlyn, Jinx, Draven, Vayne, Xayah, and Jhin because they can all provide some form of hard CC. If you get pulled even once against the Swain, then be prepared to lose 60% of your HP bar because his damage combined with his AD carries damage will chunk you out. Alright, that's it for our mid-patch analysis video for patch 9.19. If you enjoyed watching, then please hit that like, comment, and subscribe button to be notified of our next video. As a reminder, we'll make a video within the next few days to showcase all the upcoming nerfs and buffs next patch, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Also, make sure to check out ProGuides.com for content made by your favorite pro players. That's it for now. Thanks so much for watching till the end, and we'll see you out there on the Rift.